Hi and welcome to your planetary archetype in Neptune. My name is Nicole Harlow and I'm here to guide you through your planetary archetype today. So this with Neptune is your primary archetype, but one thing that I wanted to point out before we kind of dive down deep into it is that your primary archetype, it's not fixed or static. For some people, they stay the same primary archetype for their whole life. For other people, they switch every 1 to 2 years. Some people, it's every couple days. It really depends on what kind of personality you have, whether it feels more fixed or it's more kind of like flowy, wishy-washy, kind of moving, going with the flow. And I'm gonna guess, because you're a Neptune, that you have a personality type that's a bit more changeable. A little less fixed than someone who, say, is Mars or a Saturn. Neptune is a little bit dreamier, is a little bit waterier, is a little bit more movable and changeable, kind of similar to a Mercury type archetype. So what I like to do in these videos is just give you a little bit of an overview about what I see as like some of the best qualities for Neptune, and then at the end just give you a few, not I wouldn't call them negative, but just some like pitfall kind of things to look out for, just some things to be mindful of as a Neptune. So when I think of a Neptune type, I think of somebody who is emotional, somebody who is dreamy, sensitive. This could also mean highly sensitive, as in not just, when I say sensitive, I don't just mean sensitive as in like you cry really easily or you get your feelings hurt. I mean, you could be physically sensitive as well. You could be sensitive to overstimulation. You could be sensitive as in your hearing or your smell or your sense of touch is really heightened. You're probably familiar with being a highly sensitive person, an HSP. You might even be one. And this kind of means that your senses are heightened a bit. You're kind of tuned to a higher frequency than, say, your typical person, your average person is. It means that you can get fatigued really easily just from overstimulation. It means that you perhaps, even if you are extroverted and you love to like be with people, you could kind of get wiped by their energy really quickly. You might be the type of person that really needs to go back and charge your battery frequently. I know for me that someone who is, I am highly sensitive, not a Neptune, but I am highly sensitive. I have to kind of go back into my little cave and I need some solitude and I need some quiet alone time, and that helps me to like recharge the battery, refill the well, to find myself getting drained really easily. So I'm going to predict that you might be a highly sensitive person as well. And not all Neptunes are highly sensitive, and not all highly sensitive people are Neptunes, so it's important to kind of make a distinction there. But I'd say more often than not, if you fall within the Neptune archetype, you tend to be more highly sensitive. You may also be empathic too. A lot of Neptunes are empaths, which means that you can kind of, being empathic, it really changes depending on the person. So there's not really like a blanket statement here, but some empaths can really, are very emotionally astute and can pick up on the emotional vibrations from other people, so they can tell when, say, the emotional energies change in the conversation, or you can really feel into how someone else is feeling. Other people are empathic in that they're more likely to absorb energy from other people, being positive or negative. So you can be a kind of physical empath, you can be an emotional empath, you can be an empath for energy and spaces, you know, it just picks up some great stuff, but you can also pick up some weird stuff too. So this kind, you know, the other kind of like jumping off of here is that as a Neptune, you're probably more likely to have some kind of psychic ability as well. Neptune rules mystery and magic and things that are sort of underground, subconscious, under the surface, things that aren't so logical, things that aren't so predictable. Neptune rules the dreams and in the dreamscape, in the dream world. So you might find yourself being lost in thought, lost in dreams, a little bit on the not grounded side, maybe a little bit like kind of head up in the clouds. You tend to spend a lot of your time in your fantasy world rather than being like intensely kind of grounded here. And you are easily knocked off balance too. And this kind of leads me, sort of segues me nicely. I'm going to dive into some things that I would point out for you, some things that I think you should think about. One is to pay attention to your tendency to drift. A lot of Neptunes have a similar kind of energy to, like if you're familiar with the Pisces energy in the zodiac, or Cancer energy in the zodiac. So this really watery, two watery signs, which both have a tendency to drift as well. And what I mean by drifting is, I mean that compared to some other signs and some other planetary archetypes, your boundaries aren't as fixed, meaning that they're a little bit more flexible. If you think about water kind of in a container, and like if you have a porous container, you can kind of sort of expand out and come back in again, the process of osmosis. I feel like with Neptune, it's sort of a similar principles at work here, in that your boundaries aren't always so clear. And that's not a bad thing, but it's a bad thing when you find yourself sort of drifting away from your center. And that could be like energetically drifting away, as in like you're spending too much time at the computer, too much time in your mind, and it's been a long time since you did something that was really grounding for your body. Neptunes can forget to eat sometimes, forget to do really basic things to like take care of our bodies. So make sure, be conscious about whether you're drifting. And then the boundaries thing also has another kind of secondary implication, which is be mindful about how other people are approaching your boundaries and respecting your boundaries, because Neptunes can sometimes have pretty, like I said, nebulous and kind of wavy, watery boundaries, which means that other people can sometimes come into your personal space, whether that's energetically because you're empathic and you're picking too much up, or physically unwanted advances, or even something in relationships, like having a hard time saying no to somebody who is constantly sort of coming into your space and brushing up against those boundaries. So I think that the message here, or the goal, is to work consciously to try to create some more impermeable boundaries, or at least, as Danielle Laporte says, is something that I like. She says, wide open heart, big fucking fence around it. And I love that. Sorry for cursing, but I think that the cursing works here. Because I think Neptunes, you have a huge heart, and you are empathic, and your heart is open, and you're dreamy and so sweet, and just wanting like the whole world to be wonderful. And I think, do not lose that quality. The world needs more people like you who are just so sweet and lovely, and the dreamers of the world. But people can take advantage as well. And so just make sure that you work consciously to create that beautiful but impermeable bubble around you to protect yourself. And then the last thing that I would just say for a Neptune like yourself is to be aware of when you're cutting yourself off from reality. Neptunes can live in a fantasy world and can live in a place of escapism, especially when things feel a little bit difficult. You turn on the news and it feels like everything is bad and everything just feels like an assault. And there's a tendency here to escape using spiritual practices, but also maybe using drugs or alcohol or anything to kind of get your mind not in the present, not in the moment, and just into a world that feels more comfortable, which is often fantasy and not the reality. I would say there is a way, and I do believe that there's a way to still continue to be engaged with the world, to even be engaged with the news, to be engaged with current affairs and politics and everything that you probably tried to shy away from. I think that there's a way to be involved in that, but still hold on to your center and still be that sweet and sensitive and gooey person inside. I'm convinced that you can find a way to do that. So, like I said, this is really just scratching the surface. There's so much more that we can explore here. And my intention is that we continue to work together in some way, learning and growing together through the tarot, through astrology, the zodiac, planetary archetypes, moon energy, moon rituals, all things that I love. Your Radical Transformation Toolkit is zipping its way to your inbox right now. So you can go check it if you don't see it. Look in your junk mail box. Make sure that my emails are getting through to you, because I've got some more stuff that I want to send to you as well coming over the next few days. And the other thing is, I just hope perhaps that you join me this year on your Year of Radical Transformation, which is the 12-month program that I run online for women. It's 12 months of soul transformation, wild metamorphosis, radical transformation, using the zodiac signs and zodiac energy. It's fun, it's playful, it's deep, it's sexy, it's everything rolled into 12 months, and every month is completely different. We tackle a new topic. So if you want to kind of see what the schedule's like and what's in the program, you can look down the bottom under this video, scroll all the way to the bottom, click on the link, and just check it out. So once again, I'm Nicole Harlow. Hope to see some more of you, and I'll catch you later, Neptune. Bye.